Here we are again, everybody, Steam Next Fest. It's that time of year where the world's developers, from AAA studios all the way down to the underground developers, finally get to spotlight those passion projects they've been quietly cooking up for us. And this year, we're eating so good. I played more demos than I probably should have, and a lot of them blurred together, but there's a few that didn't. These are the ones that really stood out and stuck with me. If any of them catch your eye, add the demo to your library and wishlist the full game. It genuinely helps those devs know that you're interested in their games and want to support them. Without further ado, let's dive straight in. So first up, let's talk about Oasis. I went into this game expecting, something decent, but I came away genuinely impressed. This game feels kind of like a weird mashup between a Power Stone, maybe Smash Bros, and Fall Guys. It's kind of like this arena chaos, but it's very skill-based. You play as these tiny creatures with these giant swords, and momentum and movement are kind of the name of the game here. It's also got this sort of graphical vibe that reminds me of the Rare era back in the day. Think Banjo-Kazooie or Conker's Bad Fur Day. But it's got this really cool poppy fantasy vibe, kind of like Saturday morning cartoons. And this one truly feels like it could be a modern couch multiplayer classic. This is definitely one of those demos that lingered most in my mind, and I just can't wait for it to come out so I can play the heck out of it. Next on the list is Nocturnal 2. So admittedly, I didn't even know there was a first Nocturnal game, but really I just saw this game in my feed and the visuals immediately grabbed me. It has this vibe that kind of reminds me of Prince of Persia, but in 2D. And while you're playing through this demo, you're this character restoring fire or light to this world that's kind of been succumbed by darkness. It looks incredible on an OLED monitor, especially if you can use HDR. I'm telling you, the visuals really pop here. It's got fluid combat that kind of reminds me of a fighting game. You can slightly air juggle your enemies and things like that. And it's just got a really strong progression loop through ability unlocks and checkpoints. I really enjoyed this one more than I thought I would, and I'm so glad I played it. And next up on the list, we have Gloomvale. This one, for me, was all about the vibe and the atmosphere that it created. Way back in the day when I was a kid, I remember playing this version of The Hobbit from The Lord of the Rings on PC, and this game for some reason really gave me some true nostalgia thinking back on that. It's got this slow-paced adventure with really intentional combat choices. You're playing as this little beetle guy with a backpack, and you're in this world of all these cute bug creatures. And the game encourages restraint instead of mindless combat. It doesn't tell you that directly, but it's something you kind of pick up and experience as you're playing it. It makes you question, do I really need to fight these enemies? Do I want to kill them? Because sometimes the answer is yes, you have to progress, but other times you might not want to because you don't need to. There's this very peaceful, mysterious, immersive vibe about this game, and it's one of the strongest atmospheric demos that I played. Just overall very immersive and engaging. I can't wait to explore more. And hey, quick side note, the channel just passed 100 subscribers, which is honestly wild. If you've been enjoying these kinds of videos, thoughtful indie picks, talking handhelds, and just vibing about cool games I like, I'd love for you to stick around. We're building something small but intentional here. All right, back to the demos. This one is called Bomb Bun. I don't know what it is lately, but indie 3D platformers seem to be thriving. I remember just a couple years ago, they were kind of few and far between, but this one kind of stands out. It's got some really cool, nostalgic, Dreamcast sort of low poly graphics. And it's a 3D platformer that also combines elements from the Bomberman series. Bombs are used for combat and for movement tech. So, you can slide bombs across the floor, you can throw them, but you also use them as your method of double jumping. It feels more like a movement mastery 3D platformer rather than a normal collectathon. And this one is perfect for a handheld experience. Put this thing on your Steam Deck and don't look back. And next up on the list, we have Cargo Hunters. I was hesitant at first to download this one. I think I went back and forth a couple times because I don't tend to love extraction shooters. It's not usually my type of game. But this one really stood out to me because it's got this really cool robot limb swapping system. That's kind of the hook for it. You can cut parts off of enemies and swap them out in real time. There's also some pretty cool mission structure that was surprisingly engaging. I knew where my destination was and it was kind of up to me how I want to get there. But once I got there, there was a little bit of a story that was progressing, which was kind of cool. The gameplay is challenging but satisfying. Movement feels really good so long as you're not over encumbered by the supplies you're carrying, and shooting feels genuinely pretty smooth. Overall, this demo surprised me enough to want to seek out more. I want to build that ultimate robot with all of these cool custom parts that I've cut off of, my dead robot enemies, and just kind of try to become the most powerful robot in the map. Sounds really fun. Next game on the list is Withering Realms. So where do I even start with this one? Well, I guess it's got kind of a bleak and dreary vibe about it. Really reminding me of some of the slower portions of Resident Evil 4 or Silent Hill, and similarly, it's kind of got this PS2 era nostalgia about it. It's slower with a lot more deliberate combat, kind of similar to Dark Souls, but it's definitely its own thing. It's very unique. You play as this ghost girl, and you are riding on the back of a possessed doll. The doll can kind of swap body parts for different gameplay changes, such as different weapons, different abilities. I was collecting different hats that gave me buffs, and I thought that was a really cool mechanic. It scratched this weird horror itch unexpectedly well, and it just seems like a great kind of action-adventure title. Next up on the list is Massalia. This one has a great sense of progression to it. You start off as this basic sort of warrior adventurer character, and by the time you reach the end of the demo, you feel like you're ready to embark on an epic quest. The demo kind of brings you through a couple different areas where you're unlocking your movement kit, like a dash, a surfing ability, and a bow and arrow. This demo had some really cool level design where, at the start, I felt as if it was very plain Jane, kind of rudimentary, and by the end, it really opened up and expanded as I was unlocking these different movement abilities. This one's got a really small team behind it, and they're doing such impressive work. I also want to say the music really stood out on this one. Definitely check it out. This next title is called The Eternal Life of Goldman. And this is probably one of the more talked about demos that I've seen this Next Fest, but it really lives up to the hype. I don't normally seek out 2D platformers very often, but this one really pulled me in, and that's kind of due to how striking the artwork was. It's got this really cool kind of early cartoon comic energy, reminding me of Tintin if you're familiar. And even the musical choices kind of reinforce that old era tone. And altogether, it's just got this really unique style going for it, especially with the enemy designs. I didn't expect them to be kind of these grotesque mutated enemies. That kind of caught me off guard, and I thought it was a cool direction to take the game. The story framing also seems pretty unique. They're kind of borrowing from the story structure of The Princess Bride, which, has this framing where two characters are narrating a story in the real world, where in a separate world, all these wild, spectacular things are happening, kind of like a storybook. But here you get to play through it, which is really cool. So yeah, sometimes I can come into these more hyped up demos feeling a little hesitant, but when there's real substance there, it's always very satisfying. And I think that The Eternal Life of Goldman has the potential to kind of explode out of the indie scene and more into the mainstream, where a lot of people are getting their hands on it and talking about it and playing it. So I'm really eager to see what happens with this title and looking forward to playing more. And next up on the list, we're checking out Cicadamata. This one definitely has similarities to Neon White. It's an ultra fast-paced parkour, first-person platformer type game. And it's all about time trial. You're trying to see how quickly you can complete the objectives and get to the end of the stage in the shortest amount of time possible. And this one really stood apart from Neon White. It separates itself, and that's mainly due to the open routing you get to experience. Whereas I feel like Neon White had some set paths that were kind of predetermined, this is the quickest way to get to the end of the stage, Cicadamata separates itself by being so expansive. It's up to you which direction you want to take through the stage and in which order you complete your objectives. And that's really cool because it gives the player a lot of freedom and it really encourages experimentation. This one is highly addictive and replayable. I probably spent the most amount of time out of any other demo in this game just because I couldn't stop hitting the restart button to try to get a better time on these different stages. Looking forward to that title eating up more of my time in the future. Next up, let's talk about Wanderberg. So if you're anything like me, the amount of Survivor-like games that show up on these Steam Next Fests are kind of overwhelming. This demo definitely earns its spot on the list though for being pretty unique. It's got this really cool concept where you're this medieval castle on wheels. You can drive through the map, sucking up the environment and the enemies, kind of like Katamari. It's also got this really cool boost mechanic, which adds real kind of movement skills that you need to progress through to the end of the stage without dying. And it creates this really cool push-pull tension navigating all of these hordes of enemies. You know, you don't want to get hit by them, and sometimes you also want to get ahead of them, so you have to use your boost at very critical moments. And it's all wrapped up in this really vibrant, elegant, simple art style. This one's got that really cool pick up and play perfection to it. And I think this is one of those titles, once it comes out, that's really going to shine on handhelds. Speaking of handhelds, this next one kind of feels like an ode back to the Game Boy Advanced era. It's called Solar Voltage. It's an isometric puzzle platformer. It's got this really cool, strong mechanical design to the game and the environment. Movement feels pretty great through it. The puzzles I found to be pretty engaging and thoughtful throughout the demo. I'm hoping the full game kind of expands visually on the environments. What I played was kind of same as far as colors and visuals. I hope it really opens up and you feel like you're exploring kind of this unknown world. But in general, again, great handheld game. And it might be one of those games that's good to just pick up and play every once in a while. You clear a map and you have that sort of pick up and play approach to it. Okay, I got 2 more games for you all. The next one is called The Ballad of Bellum. This is a modern top-down Zelda type game. It's got that classic formula that so many developers reuse, but this one was pretty standout to me. It's got really gorgeous lighting and kind of these hybrid visuals of 2D and 3D, similar to your Octopath Traveler. And this is another one of those games that I really just have to praise for being an OLED showcase game. It looks so beautiful. It's got relatively satisfying combat, especially once I unlocked the boomerang. I was having a lot of fun with that. It's got a strong sense of secrets and exploration as well. A couple times through the demo, I was asked to make my way to a certain destination, but it was kind of up to me how I got there, which I always appreciate, especially if the maps are designed well. But, I have to say, visually, it was the eye candy that made me keep progressing through this demo. It just looks so beautiful, and I'm excited to see where they take the visuals when the full release comes out. Last but not least, let's check out Boost Vector EX. So this is a racing game where you're not piloting a jet or a spaceship or a race car, nothing like that. You actually play as something called a vector, some type of AI or robot character running at these Mach speeds. From what I can tell, the game is being created by a solo developer, and this project altogether just has a really strong identity, especially in the presentation. What caught me off guard as soon as I launched the demo was just how well put together the design of the UI was. It's very stylized, and that same sense of style bled into the actual game world as well. Visually, it's simple, easy to read, but so vibrant and colorful. And something else that's pretty cool is that there's more than one way to traverse through each track, meaning, there's optional lanes, there's different paths you can take. Some of them require you to maybe launch off a jump and land on a really narrow platform, or wall ride, or grind on a rail. It's all really fun and dynamic and pretty well put together. And after just a little bit more polishing and tightening up of the mechanics before the full release, I think this game could really be something special. And again, it's just so impressive that this was created by a single developer. And this is kind of why I do this. It's so important to me to highlight these awesome passion projects that these developers spend so much time on. Can't wait to see this thing release, and I'm looking forward to what this dev creates next. And that's a wrap. Steam Next Fest might be over by the time you're watching this video, but the cool part is these games aren't going anywhere. Some of the demos might be offline for now, but if something caught your eye, wishlist it. That small click genuinely matters for indie teams. All the links are down below in the description. And if you're into discovering great indie games, talking handhelds, and just finding those hidden gems together, definitely consider joining this little community we're building here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My name has been Tom. I'll see you in the next video.